Okay, so fasting video number 2. Let's talk about freedom in fasting. Man, what I'm about to share with you, if somebody had told me this back in 2006 when I first started fasting, I think it would have brought life through fasting much quicker. So here are the 3 things I want to try and visit. One, I want to talk about expectations, getting rid of expectations, or adjusting expectations. Second would be breaking a fast early, the freedom to do that. And the third will be about widow's mites. I'll tell you what I mean when I get there. So, so the first one, freedom from expectations. So here's something I notice in my spiritual disciplines across the board. When I have romantic, fantastic expectations about what it's going to look like when I seek God in some way, almost always those romantic expectations will sabotage the very things that I'm doing in pursuit of them. What I mean is this: if I decide I want to fast tomorrow and I go into it thinking this is going to be the most amazing fast I've ever had, I'm going to spend so much time with God, I'm going to spend 45 minutes of every hour praying for 24 hours straight. I don't know, I won't even sleep. You know, if I have these crazy, romantic, fantastic expectations of what it's going to be like, as soon as it starts to not meet those expectations, something in me goes weird. And the process just kind of starts to fall apart. So I would highly recommend, if you're planning a fast, go ahead and hold in your mind a vision of the fact that it could be wonderful, but be ready for it to be very plain. Be ready for it to be awkward. Be ready for it to be clumsy. I remember about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when I first started going after Sabbath as a discipline very hard. I started experimenting. I guess this was November of 2010. I started experimenting with taking one entire day a week to not work and to just intentionally draw near to God. And oh my gosh, it was hard. Oh my gosh. It was a very, very difficult thing to learn how to do well, and it took a long time. And I can say that one of the things that quickly made that good instead of something horrible is that it was so difficult in the first couple months that my goal for a given Sabbath day would be, when I'm done with Sabbathing today, I will have learned one thing about Sabbath. It wasn't that I was going to have an amazing day of Sabbath. I expected it to be quite difficult. But I was like, I'm going to make sure when I go to bed I have one new kernel of insight about how I can do this better. So I simplified my goals, and God often exceeded them. I think that's a great way to go about fasting. Kill the romantic expectations. Be ready for it to be clumsy and awkward. But when it's all said and done, reflect on how it went and make sure you grow at least in some small step in fasting. That's a good expectation, I think. And so that's the expectation one. The second one is breaking deadlines early. I think that's all right. Sometimes. That has to be done in I have to pay close attention to my conscience when I think about breaking a fast early. So let's say I decide I want to fast and not eat from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. a given 24-hour period. So I wake up the following morning. I fasted all through the previous day from 6 p.m. until I went to bed. I wake up the following morning and I check my email and I find out that I have 3 clients that really need me to do some urgent work on their websites, because I'm a self-employed web developer, and so that can happen. I can wake up one day and sometimes I'm just slammed with work. It's rare, but it happens. So let's say I do that, and the ways that I intended to seek God during the fast now become a bad idea, because now I'm not stewarding my clients' very important needs. I'm not loving my neighbor well. I'm not representing God well in my job. And so let's say, hypothetically, I just have to work really hard as soon as I get up, and it gets to be 1 p.m. I was supposed to fast until 6 p.m. It gets to be 1 p.m. I still have hours more work to do. I'm not really giving time to God. I'm not seeking God. This is not proving to be life-giving, and I think the timing was poor. Then at that point, I'm probably going to check my conscience really hard, and if my conscience is okay with it, I'll break the fast and I'll go ahead and have lunch. I've done that many times, easily a dozen times in the last 3 years I've done that. Sometimes, however, I get to the point, let's say it's the same situation, another time I'll fast, and it gets to be 1 p.m. and I have a lot more work and I'm not going to be able to seek God very well. sometimes my conscience is like, I just want to keep my word. I kind of resolved the night before that I would not eat until 6. And I'm not seeking God very well on this, but I just want to do what I said I would do. And so I won't eat. It won't be good, it won't be life-giving with God, but I just have to work that out very delicately with my conscience. And I want to be free to let fasting flow from love and desire and worship. And when it's not those things, I want to be free to say, this is not working. I want to do this again with an eager heart in the future, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it now. I think that's okay. But you got to check your conscience, because the Holy Spirit is the ultimate authority about whether or not it's okay for you to break a fast. So that's the breaking deadlines early. And last one is widow's mites. Widow's mites. So this story, I use this story to bring freedom in the ways that I pursue God in a way that might surprise you. It's not apparent from the story about how I'm going to wield this, but I'll give it my best shot to convey to you why it's meaningful to me. So the story of the widow's mites, I can't remember where it is in the Gospels, but the story of the widow's mites basically goes like this. Jesus is in the temple, and other Pharisees have been given a bunch of money, making offerings to the temple, and it's a lot of cash. They're wealthy. But then he sees a widow drop what I think is the equivalent of about 2 pennies into the offering box. And then Jesus makes a big show of it. He basically uses it as a teaching opportunity. And he says, basically what the widow just gave me is so precious to me, much more precious than the wealth of money that other people gave. Here's why I like that. I like it because Jesus is sensitive to what we are able to offer him. It doesn't matter how big what we offer him is, but it's a matter of what we are able to offer him. And he takes what we're able to give him, and he celebrates that, and he can make it powerful. He can make it more valuable than it seems. Well, that's helpful for me because a lot of the times when I do things to honor God and to serve him and love him, I feel very unfit in them sometimes. A common one for me is drumming at Radius. If some of you guys watching this go to Radius, you know I play the hand drums, percussion, a couple times a month usually up there. And y'all, there are times when I just feel completely unfit to help lead you in worship because my mind is going to people in the audience, it's going to how people are perceiving me, just super fleshy, or it's going to what I'm going to do when I get home, or who knows what. And I'm like, man, I just don't feel like I'm going to be able to be very attentive to God tonight. And so I feel impoverished, like a widow, you know. But I still play the drums anyway. And one of the ways that I sort of think about that is like, man, I don't have much to offer you right now. And I'm so sorry. I wish I did have more to offer you. Let me just play drums for you tonight. I'm going to drop my 2 little mites into the box. And please look at the little bit that I am able to give you and make it valuable for other people. So that's valuable for me because fasting can be like that. The reality is, when we pursue God, we're just kids down here, man. We're awkward and we are clumsy and we're fleshy, and God has a long way to go before He makes us really able to fully abide in Him. And so it can be a very sloppy endeavor sometimes. And studying Scripture, praying, and being in community, and fasting, and Sabbathing, and all that stuff. But I need to be at a place where that's okay with me to some extent, to an appropriate extent. And so sometimes for me, fasting, it's like maybe I just finished a 24-hour fast for my brother or for somebody I love. And at the end of it, I was like, man, I just really dropped the ball in seeking God in the whole thing. And I didn't want to pray. I was praying. It's almost like I was praying with a combative spirit. Like, man, I just want to go work on this piece of art, or the website needs my attention, or I don't even just want to do this. I want to go outside. I don't know. But when it's all said and done, I trust God to take the little bit that I was able to offer, and all my clumsiness and all my awkwardness, and view it as powerful. Even if this much of my motives were broken, and this much of my action was very not the kind of thing you want to duplicate and do again, and only this much of it was good and really honoring to Him, that's still enough for Him. He can still make that powerful. So as you're planning to go into fasting, I encourage you to think about it as widow's mites. You and I, we're only able to please Him only so much sometimes, and thankfully, sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes fasting can be very life giving, and then other times it's just kind of very awkward and clumsy. And so, be free, man. He's training us. He's our dad. He can grow us in fasting. It doesn't have to be amazing immediately. We just need to draw near to Him, and He'll grow us. So. Hopefully those are some freeing words for you, and hopefully they can help shape your experiences of fasting in the future. And I'm not sure what else to say now. So, man, I hope it goes really well for you, and I hope this is a blessing for you. So, thanks. Bye.